G'day everybody. I want to go through some interesting comments that from my last video, they told me I'm dreaming. They said, look, this Jesus guy, it's a fairy tale. What else did they say? Jesus did not predict anything at all about himself that he even claimed himself. He didn't fulfill one prophecy. And I want to go through that because my name's Craig and this is Morning Star Quest, where we are delving into the Bible one question at a time. And I guess it is definitely a really good question of why we think Jesus is not a fairy tale.
So one of the very important questions to ask is that really true? Or is this simply myth and fantasy?
Well, myth and fantasy for me.
Is it really myth and fantasy? Because, I've got lots of different comments that have come in, and apart from telling me that I'm dreaming and that all the rest, I think it's a bit more than that, because they're not just my beliefs. These are facts. These are things that I can't get around. So, all right, so let's go into one of these. Jesus, well, he didn't exist, and that people say that he never existed. And I put into a comment to say that, well, you know what? It's very small amount of people, or scholars, I should say, that have actually researched this, that say very small amount that have said that Jesus did not exist. And they would probably be more, I think they class them more as mysticism. And it's like Jesus didn't exist. However, when it comes to Jesus actually existing, well, I'm going to leave John Lennox here explaining to Richard Dawkins exactly that.
But you know, that disturbs me for the following reason. Reading your book, The God Delusion, you say that it's under scholarly dispute among historians that Jesus actually existed. Now, I checked with the ancient historians. That is not so. And it disturbed me. History is not natural science. But what I don't understand is this: why you would write something like that.
I don't think it's a very important question whether Jesus existed. There are some historians, most historians think he did. Some
They certainly
don't.
do. I couldn't find an ancient historian that didn't.
Well, there are one or two. But
isn't it so interesting that all biblical scholars, atheist scholars, critical scholars, not just the Christian ones, even Jewish scholars, they have stated that Jesus did exist. Now, you might be saying, well, hang on a minute. I don't believe he was on the cross and all this and he resurrected. We're not talking about that. We are just talking about that he existed. And again, we're not talking about Jesus who was a baker, a candlestick maker. No, this is the Jesus that they called Messiah. And even Roman historians that do not like Christianity, they would do anything to get rid of it. Even they said that he was crucified on a cross by a man named Pontius Pilate. You can't make this stuff up because it is real facts. These are facts. Whether you believe them, well, you have to believe them because they're facts. And all scholars that have researched this, every single one of them has said that Jesus does and did exist. What that means, that's a very different thing. And we're not talking about that today. It's just about that he existed. And it says here, one of the comments says, Christians invented prophecy ideas. We have in Psalm 22. Now this is, Psalm 22 is, it is an amazing psalm. And Psalm 22, this is 700 years before Jesus died on the cross. Oh, sorry, I'll just say before Jesus existed. Let's just go with that. Before he existed, this psalm existed. 700 years previous. Just let that sink in. Now, there was someone here that did say that Psalm 22 does talk about that stuff, but it is a lament of David. It has nothing to do with prophecy. Now, this is really interesting because if you read this, you actually realize, okay, this is a Psalm of David, but not one of these things happened to David. So tell me, did this exist for David? Because it doesn't feel like it. It starts talking about how everybody is surrounding him. I am poured out like like water. My bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me. Okay, you could say that is figure of speech, I guess. For the dogs have surrounded me, a company of evildoers have enclosed me. They have pierced my hands and feet. Could you say that that is a lament and that is just a phrasing? I count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among me. They cast lots for my clothing. All of this, is this really happening to David? And not, okay, you could say it's a lament, but it's also much more. And look, I'm going to say, yes, it is a lament. Of course it is. But here's the point. It is also a prophecy. And Jesus on the cross says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now, when it comes to Israelite or Hebrew with the Bible, we say verse and chapter. For them, it was the beginning of the chapter. What are the first words of this chapter? My God, why have you forsaken me? He could have said Psalm 22, but they wouldn't have known what that was because that's probably, 1,500 years later before we had that. So all they had at the time was, my God, why have you forsaken me? And can I just say, if this is just a lament, why is this being said? For the kingdoms is Yahweh's, he is the ruler over the nations. All the rich ones of the earth, shall eat and worship. All those who go down to the dust shall bow before him, even if he can't keep his soul alive. Posterity shall serve him. Future generations shall be told about the Lord. They shall come and shall declare his righteousness to the people that shall be born, for he has done it. This psalm mentions us. That is just crazy. And how is this not a prophecy? I mean, yes, it's a lament, but it's not just a lament because you can see it in the words. And I just find that crazy to say that it's not. So I guess I'm sorry. This is a done and dusted. And everybody further has commented. I hate to say it, but the scholars have actually done the research and it is done. So I'm sorry, the scholars have done their research. I'm sorry, but the scholars have done their research. Psalm 22, yes, it is a lament, but it's way more than that. It's a prophecy. And Jesus on the cross is saying and pointing back to that one psalm with, my God, why have I been forsaken? Why would he not say that? Everything leads to the one conclusion that Jesus did exist. And the only question is, who do you think Jesus is? That's the only question. So go do something awesome for God. And catch you in the next one and possibly that one. Go on, click on that one. Go on, please. Oh, you know what? Just click on it.